The Killer Growth Podcast starts now.
What's up, guys? Sam McVeigh here with the Killer Growth Podcast. And today I have Shem Hatfield, founder of Process Elevation. And I have no idea what he does. And we're going to figure it out together.
It's good.
Do you know what you do?
I'm trying to figure out the same thing. So yeah, this will be beneficial for me, maybe
Yes.
more than anyone by the end of this, that I know who I am and what I do. So
This is going to be a good exercise.
That's
we'll call it
right.
a workshop. Therapy
That's
with
right.
Killer
There you
Growth.
go. There you go.
Buckle up, everyone. Awesome. So yeah, Shem and I go back. We met in college. Practicum. We built theater sets, audio, video for
Ran lights up in the cloud. Is that what we called it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we did call it the cloud, and then we built stage sets.
Yep.
Together.
We were very immature together. We played games in the hallway.
Played games in the hallways. What did we call Code Teal?
Code Teal.
And then we would change the color just so people didn't know what we were doing. It was really dumb. I still remember, because you guys are like ninjas. I mean, you have a trilogy. You did a movie series. So you know how to jump and roll. Do you remember
when
that?
you did the roll and you looked on the skill tree?
Yeah, I had never jumped full in the air and rolled like over my head. And I'm watching you guys do it. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. And those are like concrete floors with carpet that thin.
That's right.
And I just basically landed on my head.
You like head dove.
Yeah, and we would try to sneak around the music department and theater department without being seen.
And then
you just started dragging me because I was just like paralyzed,
oh my gosh,
laying on the ground, and you just started dragging me into a hallway. Like,
I had forgotten all about that
no
moment.
soldier left behind.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. I had forgotten all about that moment. Yeah, Code Teal context. Yeah, that was basically sneaking through the hallway without anyone seeing. But it wasn't just sneaking. It was this parkour type idea, which none of us could really do.
It was like, imagine the Office episode, and then a bunch of idiots
that's what
saying they're sneaking around and they're just yelling parkour.
But that is a good memory from you when you tried to do just a basic kind of tumble.
And you taught me in the grass before. I don't know if you remember that. I did like twice in the grass. You're like, yeah. And I'm sure you were like, oh, this is going to be bad.
You did it on the concrete.
It was like right outside, and then I go in, and the first one I do it, I'm just like, I'm a long, lanky, not very acrobatic dude.
I do remember that, yeah. And then I grabbed you by the hands, and I drug you off to safety.
That's great. Those old Bernie Wallensettler and Practicum. The memories I don't enjoy about our time in college building theater sets are you and Jason Taves and Jordan Hatfield, who will be on the podcast next week or the week after.
Okay, yeah.
Would scream like someone lost a finger every time the table saw would turn on.
Yeah, that
and
was great.
I could not, like the boy who cries wolf analogy, that never clicked with me.
Yep.
Every time my heart would just start pounding and I'd walk in because every time I thought it finally happened.
Yep.
But my heart rate would go nuts. And your guys were so crazy good at horror screaming. It was unfortunate. And I'm a jumpy dude.
Like, I love that for you. And gosh, I'd forgotten about some of these things. Those are good times. Yeah. I can hear the scream in my head where you use the chop saw.
Yeah.
You come down on a piece of wood, but then you kind of wiggle the wood a little bit so it makes an off sound, and then you just scream at the top of your lungs.
That's how you sold it. It didn't sound like a clean cut. It sounded like it all messed
like
up.
Something went wrong. Yeah. And then people come running and we're like, nah, we're okay. So, good times. Yeah. Good times.
Bernie's retired now, so we can talk about those things. We did.
Right. I was mature. I'm still very mature.
Yeah, we, 2 hours a day, it blew by real fast. So I don't think we were very productive.
Yeah. No, it was mostly just fun. Gosh, how many years ago was Butler?
That would be 09, right? So
09. Yep.
So 17 years
17
almost.
years. Does it feel like 17 years to you?
Dude, I don't know. My body feels like it was 17 years ago. That's the answer. Mentally, no. Like my concept of time does not feel like 17 years.
Yep.
But yeah, 17 years and a lot's changed. You have 6 kids now?
6 kids.
I have 4 kids.
You have 4 kids.
I couldn't keep up.
Yep.
So congrats.
Yeah. I could talk to you about how to get that done, but
I don't. I still haven't figured it out. Different episode.
Right. Yeah. If you're interested, I mean,
Sex 101. All right, here we go, guys. Welcome to the Kill
Oh,
Growth
is that
Podcast.
what it is? Oh, gosh.
3-letter word. But yeah, so fast forward, we grew up, and then we had to go make money, and
Yep.
you went your path. So let's talk about Shem's journey.
Yeah.
To getting to Process Elevation today.
Yeah.
And we can jump into what was the first job that kind of correlates with this.
Yeah.
I think would be interesting.
I think probably the best place to start would just be from, Butler from 17 years ago, and then in between to get to Process Elevation and what I'm up to now. There's a big chunk of time in between that where I worked at in a school residential program for neurodiverse children, and I was there for about 13 years. So I started there as a frontline staff working with mostly adolescents with autism spectrum disorder. We serve individuals from all across the country. The individuals we served, if they came to our facility, it was generally because of their pretty severe behavioral challenges, so aggression, self-injury, property destruction, I mean, you name it, and we saw it there. So that's actually 13 years I spent there, starting as a frontline staff, and then pretty quickly moved to the training department, and that's where I became, dove in head deep to learning and development space. And so doing orientation, onboarding, started to work more with managers, and then before I knew it, I was tasked with building the leadership development program there, and promoted into director of learning and development position. And so that was a good chunk of my career is workshops, sessions, programs, and then coaching for management, leadership, staff. And so that then is really a big part of what set the stage for me to step out of there. So a little over a year ago, is when I decided to take the entrepreneurial leap and start my own business and take some of the leadership development stuff I was doing there and try to do it in some other places. So that's how I got to where I am today. There's a whole lot more. I'm not sure how much to unpack in all of this. So
whatever's relevant, because we both had to figure out what you do.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
And who is your ideal customer?
Yes.
We can start there,
ideal
right?
customer. See that? That's a great. So
question. You have these programs. We're gonna break it down for my sake, because I even did research, and I was like, I almost feel like we just have to like do the process, like Act 1, Act 2. Like treat me like a client. And let's think through. How does that relationship start? What's the type of organization? All that. But your training. Talk about your training to be qualified to do this.
Let's absolutely.
Start there.
Yeah, let's start there. So got my master's degree in organizational leadership. That, of course, ties into the work that I do. And then I'm a certified coach through the International Association of Coaches, Therapists, and Mentors. And then I am certified provider in process communication model. We'll talk a little bit more about that one. And then certified provider in compassionate accountability. Those are the big, probably, certs that make me feel official. A lot of this space is certainly experiential, and it is
experimental or experiential.
It's both. Okay. It's both experimental and experiential. But I think one of the things I don't ever want to do is, at least at this stage of life, is pretend like, oh, I'm the expert stepping into this space because I have certification X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely wonderful tools and helpful for how I think about the work that I do. But at the end of the day, here's my developing tagline. In a machine-driven age, your humanity is not just a soft skill, it is your competitive edge. And so the human component is what I'm interested in, human skills, human skill development. And that really is that's the work I've been doing ever since I was a trainer in this organization, working in a high crisis setting, working with frontline team members who are working with individuals, again, who are neurodiverse. And so there's just a ton of deep work we do around behavioral understanding what's going on in your brain, why we're engaging and doing and acting some of the ways that we are. And then from that, building out these frameworks for leaders as well. So all that to say, I think what I want to come back to is the skills, the certs, they're important. I use them. And I don't want to pretend like I'm this podcast expert guy either, right? Who has this, I think I'm still figuring it out. I could.
Let's do both.
We could cut that out.
Let's do both. Let's pretend you're an expert and then pretend you're figuring it out, right?
Okay. We can do that. Yeah, sure. And then just keep whatever is
we'll A/B test
most
the content.
clickbaity. Yeah,
exactly. We'll see what hits for you.
That sounds great. Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the moment? What you went from great job, qualifications, kind of doing this for your organization internally, right? To now I want to go do this for other organizations. What was that driver? Why change that?
That is such a phenomenal question, and there's so
and we're out, folks. Oh, wait, no, you got to do the answer. I'm still figuring this out.
And that's it. That's a wrap. No, there's a lot that ties into that. As it is with any human experience, it's always more complex than what the PowerPoint slide shows, right? And so that's part of it. But for the sake of the conversation today, I think a few things to highlight there. One would be there was this increasing drive for me the last probably 2 to 3 years to explore outside of those four walls. I grew up there essentially, right? That was
a long time.
From, let's see, I started there at 21 and 13 years later, I'm still there. So I, again, really grew up. That's what I knew about business. That's where I learned business acumen skills, understanding of management and how team formulation happens and conflict resolution and all these dynamics. Again, I knew from this business. And so there was a part of me that was like, gosh, I don't know what I don't know. And I would love to know more what's out there. So certainly there was this developing drive in me. And then there's if you're in any organization for 13 years, there's challenges, right? There's things, and I don't think it's probably as beneficial right now to jump into some of that, but there were just some difficulties, and end of day, let's leave that at, I had an entrepreneurial hunger that was growing. I was trying to find this better balance in my life between my autonomy, my freedom, 6 kids, time, how I'm spending my time, and then also looking at money, right? Looking at financial resource and the life that I wanted to live, and realizing like, okay, I could retire from here hypothetically in 30 to 40 years. Is this what I want from that balance of autonomy and that balance of the financial freedom that I'm looking for? And at the end of the day, it wasn't. And so,
and that autonomy part's important too, because in any organizational structure, if you have a little bit of an entrepreneurial flair, you have a passion for what you do, and you're going to have limits to what you're allowed to build within that 4 walls, right? They're going to have their systems, protocols, nothing wrong with that. Just if you wanted to go a different direction, you only have so much say. And so being able to go implement, be an implementer with other organizations that maybe you can go test and theorize and build things that are different. I'm sure and you're very creative, so I'm sure that's a big draw.
There was a creative side. Absolutely. I love what you said there. Like, there's nothing wrong. This is really not about right or wrong, or I could have spent the rest of my career there and retired from there. And if that's would have been my craving and I would have been getting my bucket filled, my psychological needs met, great. That's awesome. There's plenty of people out there who do that, and that level, that balance they find of security and stability. Wonderful. That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. And then there are other, again, just personality types that have different energy and different focus. And I think I could have stuck it out longer, but at some level I was just increasingly dissatisfied, and they could have offered me a lot of additional things. And I think there's still this craving I had that once the idea was there, you could do what you're doing here and explore and potentially travel and potentially do this other places. Like it kind of got locked in pretty solid. And then there was energy and excitement behind that. And so at some point I just said, I'm doing this, right? You better believe there was some trepidation, some fear, some deep anxiety.
We talked about it a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Times.
Yeah. I think I called you pretty early on in all this and said, you're an entrepreneur. Help me, please. Right?
I'm like, bro, I don't understand what you're doing. So good luck.
Yeah. Godspeed. I crave stability. I think we all do. We want security.
Sure.
And
especially with kids, that changes that dynamic big time.
Arguably 6 kids midlife is not the best time to start to jump ship and do your own thing.
You forgot a word, midlife crisis.
Yeah, right. Oh, yes. Let me throw that in there. So I think that probably is a sufficient, one other thing I guess that's important to say in the exiting and stepping out and do what I'm doing now is, again, and kind of touched on already, but just this realization that what I'm good at, what I find myself, the reason I've been promoted multiple times in this organization, where I'm successful is with people. And when I sit down and spend time one-on-one with people, like I have something going on there that for whatever reason, other people don't always bring that to the table. And so I've really tried to, over the last few years, develop this understanding of, and I ask people this all the time in my coaching sessions, what do you bring when you walk into the room? Who are you? What is that unique thing that you bring, your strengths? Do you have good awareness of how you're communicating, how you're showing up? Because we all have that when we walk in the room. There's something we bring to the room. Or if I am out sick today, there's something my team is lacking because I'm not there. That doesn't mean they can't move forward. It just means there is a dynamic that is unique to each of us and how we take in the world, and then how we in turn, the output, how we show up in the world. And so figuring that out about me, and again, realizing this is about the human component. And so that is where, again, there's a lot of places that need help with the people skills side of things. And so that was a big driver again for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. So take me through your clientele. So you go out on your own.
Yep.
Give me an example of a current client or some of your first clients.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Not a lot who I thought it'd be. So, I had this limiting mindset of, okay, what do I know? I know healthcare. That means my ideal customer profile is going to be someone in healthcare, right? Okay. Someone struggling with retention, with turnover issues, frontline staff.
And it's all internal staffing, right? Yeah. Your focus is internal staffing development.
Yes. Do a little bit, like I'm open to and have opportunities to do external, like coaching. If you've got an individual who's just looking for coaching outside of an org, I do that as well. But the bulk of what I've done is, internal organizational development stuff. Excuse me. So the ideal customer profile, again, didn't really fit what I thought it would, the focus on healthcare. Instead, I got basically the same month that I made the decision to step out and I started doing outreach to all these healthcare organizations, like here's who I am and here's what I do. I had a leadership consulting firm based in Austria actually reach out to me and say, hey, we see you're certified in X, Y, and Z. We do global partnerships and we need someone in the United States to go and do some leadership development.
Is this Next Element?
No, that's not Next Element. It came to me through Next Element, but this is actually a group called Think Beyond. They're a phenomenal, leadership consulting firm would be a simplistic way of putting it, but they're based in Austria. And again, they have global clients. A lot of the clients are global. And so I got hooked up with them real quickly and they said, we need you to go to New Jersey and work with a manufacturing company and put on this leadership program. And so that's what I did. And that has since led to just a ton of other opportunities. So most of my time actually over the last year has been spent, I'm doing a little bit of some healthcare stuff right now with an organization, more in the healthcare sector. They're really not healthcare, but it's actually primarily been like manufacturing, clean energy, these places, again, global organizations that I absolutely would have limited myself, just my mental belief about what Shem is there to do.
Yeah.
I did not have that that switch turned on, right? Yeah. And so now I'm doing coaching with senior level leadership all the way down to mid-level managers and frontline like shift leads and coaching and programs again for these individuals. And what's interesting is like, oh, they truly are up against the very same challenges that we are up against in healthcare. Because again, these are human issues, conflict resolution, how to give feedback to a team member, how to stay engaged, how to communicate with someone who's very different from me and diverse. Like, how do we shift our energy to adapt? Those are the very things I'm doing now. Again, stuff I was doing previous as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. So are you meeting with groups, one-on-ones with several people in the same organization, just the main person?
It's all of the above. So, give an example of one of the programs going to Canada next week, and we'll be doing it's a group program. So there's, you got a group of 15, 16 individuals in there. We'll be together for 3 days, going through just a ton of different incredible content. And outside of that, though, I've already met with a handful of them one-on-one to who are you? And we use different personality assessment tools where, they take an assessment and then we use that to help them understand.
What works? There's too many, Shem.
There's so many.
Fix that.
And so actually, I wish I could say I use this one, but I'm using a few different ones.
Sure.
There's multiple. And so with this group, I'm actually using a tool called OPQ.
Okay.
And with my work elsewhere that I do, I typically use a program called PCM, or Process Communication Model. I'm also using DISC. A lot of people are familiar with the DISC model. And those are all three of those are happening in programs that exist right now. And so my philosophy around these tools is there are some that certainly I've attached to and latched onto more than others, and I can talk about why that is. But at the end of day, they're designed to help you understand you. None of them are perfect. None of them can fully capture the complexity of what it means to be a human, but they are all built to help you get a better sense of how you take in the world and how you show up in the world. And so if you are willing to spend time on any one of those tools, I'm going to say you probably can't go wrong for the most part. There are some that are more evidence-based, have strong research, but I also remind people, and my thought is that not research doesn't mean not useful. I think about this analogy of how many papers are written, how much research has been done on the benefits of going to the gym, right? We could find all kinds of stuff out there, peer-reviewed literature on that, but I'll bet you 100, 1,000 years ago, they had an understanding that if you lift heavy things long enough, you get stronger, right? Like, so that's part of this wrestling match between, there are some out there who say, there's no research behind that and you shouldn't do that, X, Y, Z. They've got all these arguments against it. And I'm like, I get that. And I like research too. I like evidence-based. Try to be a logical individual. And I also want to make sure that we understand that just because you don't have some of that doesn't mean it's not a useful tool to help give you terminology, categories, concepts to explore who you are. At end of day, Samuel, you know you better than any profile will ever know you. But if I can get a profile in front of you and then we can walk through it together and dig into some of these, talk to me about this. Why does this feel right to you or this feel not right to you? We can make significant progress.
Are those tools more valuable in the sense that I understand myself better or that I understand you better?
I'm going to say it's both, but it's always the former, always precedes, always has to come before the latter.
So identification of yourself is required before it could be used for others to better understand you.
Yeah. I would say pretty strongly, I feel pretty strong on that. The reason is because if you go in reverse order, all of a sudden I have a tool, I'm going to come in and PCM you, right? Or I'm going to disc you, or I'm now going to say,
I'm going to disc you.
Yeah, well, that happens. That's actually one of the big reasons you see certain HR professionals will resist some of these tools, because they can lead to just one more tool for me in my distress to attack you. Samuel, he's just that promoter energy. He doesn't care about people the way I care about people because he's just this. And so step one is always know you, know your drivers, know your distress patterns, know how you show up and see yourself in the world. And really the work can stop there before you try to start analyzing and understanding other people. We have enough work to do on ourselves before we start to work in any leadership development content, any skill we talk about. There's this, a big part of leadership programs is usually like how to give feedback to someone. And that's about, you're doing X, so I need to give you feedback on that. That's important, absolutely. But you want to know what's better? How to receive feedback. What do I need to focus on? How to take in, because how you receive feedback directly correlates to how you're going to give feedback. So all that to say, I think both is the answer, but you got to have, I would say you really need to have the one before the other and prioritize the one above the other.
The Enneagram, when it was like a big hot button topic, and there's so many podcasts on it, and you've got the book, and I fought it forever, and I was like, I'm never gonna. And it was more fun to be on the other side of it and not participate for a long time.
The resistor.
Oh yeah, I did that for a while, and so I would just, with my coworkers that were really into it, Abby and Tyler at the time, I just make up a number and tell them I finally did it, and I'd just change the number every time, and then they'd be like, "But for real this time?" No. Like, no, I didn't do. I know
of
there's
course
1
you're
through
6.
9.
Oh, I knew you were a 1.
Oh yeah. Then they both would just start talking, and then Abby be over there thinking it all through, and I just let it go. It was terrible.
Yeah,
super ornery. But I've thought about why I resisted. Besides, it was fun.
Yeah,
and it was entertaining because I just make fun of it. But the part I didn't enjoy is thinking about myself. I did not enjoy that. Looking into myself, understanding how I do things. I'm just going to keep pushing and trying to be better and react in real time, because it's kind of like this proactive thing. And by nature, I'm not necessarily very proactive. I'm just active.
Yeah.
So like it kind of revealed in me, I was like, man, there's all these like disciplinary, sit down, do this thing, so all these other things get easier. Work out, so the next time I, go help someone move, or I want to go on a hike with my kids, it's not, so terrible, and I can enjoy it more. Or thinking through, how do I want to feel when I'm 70? Right? I don't think about that. Like it's real time. And so I think people that are in that real time, I don't know, it's just hard. But fast forward to when I finally did it, everyone told me what my number was, right? And everybody will do it. What I appreciated about Enneagram was that you self-identify, and I also was cautious about that. Yeah. But the principle of it, you're supposed to self-identify. You're supposed to read, this book, read every personality, decide which one you identify with. And then do you remember the songs? I don't. Was there a song with it? No. Every number had a song. And so one of my buddies, Teddy, who's super into it, kept talking about it. He's like, you got to go listen to the song. Like, once you get all it done, you identify it, then go listen to the songs as a final step. And there's a song for 1 through 9, and you listen to those songs, and you essentially listen to that song, and you're probably going to have a moment. And sure as heck, when I heard Enneagram 3, I'm not going to talk about it. There might have been snot involved. And I've had other people try and do that experience, but they didn't do the due diligence prior. So it didn't really hit the same. They're like, you're such a wuss. Like, I mean, obviously that's my song. And I'm like, it also kind of makes sense to your personality. But then I listened to that song, and I knew what my brother was, Steven. And I remember listening to his song, and that hit me really hard and created empathy different than reading about it. And it was just a different way of taking the information through lyrics form and music, that just kind of almost like makes you more sensitive to it. Like, right, music's weird, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You feel it deeply and outwardly, and you're hearing it and you're feeling it. And so I think that is a great tool for anybody that's exploring, and not necessarily in the organizational side, because it's a mess in the organizational side, the Enneagram. Sure. Like, I never was able to translate it over like DISC can. You almost kind of need a more simple, that's more about an organizational structure. Enneagram's more just about you. And then I'll give the mic back to you.
You're good. No, this is great.
But fast forward, Haley finally did it, and she ended up being a 6, and I was a 3.
Okay.
And so you can read about your Enneagrams as a couple.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
yeah.
they have
like how the two
writings.
interact.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Talk about feeling exposed.
Yeah.
It took us 3 days to finish it because we were so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was so spot on. We're like, okay, that's enough tonight. But I mean, it was wild how detailed it got.
Yeah.
Like this probably happens all the time. That when you fight, you probably fight about these stupid things. And when this person shuts down, it's because of this person doing this. I mean, it was like scary accurate. And so back to the feeling exposed thing, it took us 3 days to read a page.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like we come back to it. But yeah, you just also, I think there's just a part of humanity. You don't want others to know you as deeply as you know yourself.
Yeah.
And so when you do that with another person, though, it is really powerful.
It is, yeah.
To experience a relationship. So even outside of organizational structure, my point in all this, I am getting like lit up on my phone right now because of this whole school thing.
Oh,
And I'm trying to figure out how to do this because everybody's figuring out who's picking up who now. And so everybody's schedules are off. And yeah, the school, we have a big storm coming in, everybody. And I can't figure out how to shut off my ringer. There we go. But I think it's going to be fine, you know?
Yeah,
They
again,
can
it's like-
walk in the thunderstorm. It doesn't look that bad,
It doesn't
Shem.
look like it's supposed to happen to like after
Everybody
5
shut
is
down
what I'm
schools
seeing here.
at
Like, I don't
1.
understand what
yeah.
the big deal, is. Like there's 11% chance at 1 o'clock of rain. It goes up to 22% chance at 2 o'clock, but really, you know,
Right.
it's not until 5 o'clock. That's when it's a 75% chance. I'm not sure what they're
You'd be a great weatherman.
seeing.
Throw the green screen up right now.
Everyone's
Throw
leaning
the
in.
green,
Yeah.
green
Everyone's
screen.
zooming in,
Yeah.
trying to see the
best moment that could happen is a tornado just rips through this wall mid-sentence. I don't see anything until 5.
I don't know. Right. That's too good. It's here. You know, that's actually great. Great speaks to the respond to what you see, not to what you know. That's actually one of my favorite lines in terms of all these profiles. From the weather back to this, right? We can, you know, that's what I'm here to do. Hey, listen, you do enough coaching, you got to figure out how to reel this crap in.
You, no kidding.
So it's,
crap equals Sam.
yeah, no. It's great. There's so much of what you said in there that would be a lot of fun to dive into more deeply. One of the things you touched on is like figuring out how Enneagram doesn't feel as effective for an organization where DISC does. And some of that's just like how much space does a structure in the organization leave for that tool? A tool like Enneagram, a tool that's deeply personal, absolutely can be beneficial. The challenge is that, to your point, people do these and they feel seen, they feel exposed.
And you might not want to feel exposed to certain coworkers
absolutely.
to that level.
With my spouse, that's one thing, right? With my colleague, that's another. And that is something, I mean, just last night, I'm having to walk through this with an individual who we're going through the assessment and they're like, it kind of violates my privacy, doesn't it? I'm like, tell me more on that. Why do you feel that way, right? Help me understand what's going on, because the majority don't respond that way. The majority are actually like, this is incredible. This is great.
Yeah.
I love this. This is so helpful. And so it's getting into what's going on, again, behind the scenes for why we are processing that the way that we are. I'm curious with you, though, one thing I want to hit on real quick. You mentioned with Steven specifically, there was this empathy that was activated for you that wasn't there before. Could you
100%.
share more on that? Like, what is what is that?
So essentially, when I found out, because obviously worked closely together for a long time, I saw another side of him that I never really understood through what his Enneagram number was. And then I felt empathy for things that were hard or things he was feeling. Because the song is very much an each song is kind of like an outcry of the pain of it. So like a 3 is an achiever, right? So a 3 is like, have I done enough?
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Like, have I done enough? Like,
Yeah.
will I ever do enough to earn this or earn your love? So like the curse of an unachiever is that you just don't feel like you've ever done enough.
Yeah.
And you always have to do more. And so on 2 being that, or 9, sorry, he's a 9. Wow, screwed that up. He's a 9. So understanding how a 9 feels.
Yeah.
And their ability to be seen and not seen and blending and like not sure of these things and so once I heard that side, I was just like, God, that'd be hard, and that'd probably be really hard around an achiever, right? Like someone who's just like so focused and like I'm gonna go. and then to understand where a 9's at, and then flip the script in Enneagram, then you can go into like your growth number or your healthy, I should say.
Yeah.
Healthy, you act like a different number.
Yes.
You have tendencies of it. And we were like flipped. It was funny.
Yeah.
So I think my healthy is I become more people-centric.
Closer to him. Yeah.
I'm closer to him when I was healthy.
He looks more like an achiever.
He looks more like an achiever.
Yeah.
And that was wild too. That was a wild moment.
Yeah.
And does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. That right there, what you described is absolutely one of the best outcomes of any of these assessments. And it doesn't always go that way. But when you're able to have more empathy for yourself, like, oh, I'm okay, I'm human. That's a huge part for a lot of people. Like, I'm okay. But then the next part of that is you're okay, right? Like, and that's the best, again, result you could see come from these, because that, as an underlying mindset, we talk about a ton of different skills to engage in with leadership. If your default underlying mindset doesn't look something like that, you're going to struggle. Like, you're just going to struggle. It's like, another analogy that I use, it's like if you're trying to do a modern software update on a device that has a blown motherboard or something, right? Like, you've got to have some of those fundamental things happening in the works, regulated, in order to really build solidly on top of that. And so I think one of the interesting things, so again, I'm a PCM fan, process communication model. And one of the things about process communication that is different than a lot of the models out there, which are, again, super helpful. So I'm not like, oh, I'm anti this or anti that, but PCM is less about what type of person you are, and it's more about the types that exist within you. And so in the PCM framework, the idea is that you're not ever just one thing. If you're a human, you have to varying degrees the capacity to adapt and shift your energy into each of these. But guess what? In distress, you don't do that.
And that's one thing I didn't like about the Enneagram was when you'd meet a number that's the same as someone else. You're like, man, they can be
very different,
more different. And somehow, but it was about the motivation,
absolutely,
but breaking into parts. I love that. So go back to that part of when you're in distress, that's a piece of you. What do you do in distress? Is that the point?
Yeah, there's a lot there. So it's the understanding what you just said. I'm a 1 and you're a 1, and we seem like very different people.
Are you a 1?
Yes, on Enneagram, I'm a 1. Hey, that's why we connect. See, that's why we're exactly the same. Yeah, that's the deal. No, it's in PCM, again, we look at it a little bit different, and it's that you probably default to, quote, 1 energy as your base floor. But in PCM, we think of it as imagine you live in a condo and you have a 6-story condo. In your condo, 70-80% of your life is spent on the main floor.
I love this analogy because there's an elevator involved.
There's an elevator.
You told me this analogy. This helped me.
There's an elevator, and when you're healthy, when you're getting your psychological needs met, you're taking care of yourself, you're managing distress well, you can hop on that elevator and you can ride it all the way up to your attic floor. Now, you don't spend much time in your attic, right? We go up there on occasion for Christmas to get down the decorations.
I'm curious if I have one. Now that you say that.
Yeah. Right. Do I have an attic? Yeah. Reeling back in. But that really explains in most of these models, like there's diversity in humanity. You're a 1 through a 9. In PCM, there's actually 720 unique combinations based on these 6 floors. And it's not just the floors themselves, it's the energy associated with each floor. And so I spend 70-80% of my time, again, on the main floor, but my bottom 3 floors are probably where I've spent 95% of my life. And I actually have the ability, not just, again, PCM's incredibly freeing in that I'm not just stuck here. I can move my energy. I can actually do things, and I can engage in the world in a way that I can adjust energy to better understand these. But that 9 energy, which in PCM we would call that harmonizer, that is the people. Like, I care more about people, whereas the achiever energy is typically in DISC. You're going to associate that with the people side and the task side, right? Yeah. You're typically going to say you're stronger on task, they're stronger on people. Yes, And that is one spectrum. That's one way of looking at it. And it's infinitely more complex than that. And I have the ability, Harmonizer's also not my bottom 3 floors, it's up toward the top. But when I'm in a good place, I can meet my wife there. I can meet other people there. I can show up and show empathy, show compassion. I can be warm with people. If I'm in distress, not happening, right? Like that's not how I'm going to show up. And so all this goes back to, again, my developing model, if you want to call that, my developing steps. Like these are things I've been working with people on for years, and I've only recently come to a point where a partner and I are working on this right now, but figuring out like, what is that, the steps we're walking people through. And really for me, it starts at regulation. Regulation goes to mindset. Mindset goes to skills, the actual skills we want to develop. Skills then go to behavior. What are the behaviors? How are we actually showing up in the real world using those skills? And then step 5 is then tool set. So you got regulation, mindset, skill set, behavior set, tool set. And that really, honestly, that probably describes 95% of the work that I do is spending time at one of those.
Okay. And do you view that as a like priority level, or they've already evolved? Like, okay, you're good up to this point. Does it like start at regulation and then end here, and there's purpose in that, some logic in that?
That's a great question. So yes, in terms of yes for the PowerPoint slide, and no for the real world complexity.
When you're actually in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would say a strong yes on the regulation mindset. Like, let me just give a practical example.
Okay.
I'm interacting in a coaching session with an individual who, talked to me about what's going on. They suck. Management doesn't get it. We're not getting the support they need. I got this colleague who's just a kiss ass. That's all they do. Right. So, whoa, right?
Hi, I'm Shem.
Yeah, right. Let me introduce myself, right? So just major distress, but if you don't have an awareness of regulation, mindset, distress, I might default to, oh, what a dick, right?
Yeah.
Like what a jerk, what a horrible manager, what a bad boss this guy is. And so what use is it going to do if I jump in and immediately start to try to address those behaviors?
Right.
Hey, you shouldn't call him that. Instead, you should call him this.
The most exhausting
right?
thing about parenting.
Right.
Andy, who we just had on, was kind of talking about some proactive things that are kind of like bigger picture of behavioral issues.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
good.
Absolutely. And that's, so a lot of leadership, I won't say a lot, there are leadership programs out there that really spend the bulk of their time on that behavior skill set side, right? Let's look at the skills. We're going to teach you new skills, and then we're going to work on adjusting these behaviors. Wonderful. Great work. Phenomenal. Again, going back to that motherboard idea, if you're interacting with someone trying to give them a software update for a circuit's fried, it doesn't work, right? Like it's not going to be effective. And so that, coming back to your question of, is it linear? Yes, in the sense that I think as a coach, as someone doing leadership development, you've got to spend some time on the regulation aspect, which we're talking like physiological, biological regulation, your body's ability to get its needs met. And then from there, you move to the mindset, the mental stance, how you think about the world, how you think about yourself, the cognitive thoughts going on. And then we look at, okay, now let's talk about skill set and the specific skills you want to enhance and get better at: communication, conflict resolution. Now let's look at how you do that. It's one thing for me to know, I've got these 6 theories of conflict. I've got these skills. It's another thing to engage in the behavior and actually do them well, right?
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time, of course, around behavior. And then ultimately, tool set is kind of this tag on at the end that I have, which is I want to give you the tools, the models, the frameworks, the systems to be able to do that and do that well. And one of my underlying things I've said probably more than any other quote in all my programs is that people need to be reminded more often than they need to be instructed. And that's a quote back to, I think, Samuel Johnson, maybe. And I've added to that recently, people need to be reminded and people need to be inspired more than they need to be instructed. And so I'll stop here in just a second, but I wanted to come back to something you mentioned earlier with music, right? And you talked about when you listen to music, it hits different in a way that you maybe can't even always explain. And so there is this research, there is this science behind that the different parts of our brains, again, it's always more complex than the PowerPoint slide, but there's these studies around like the different parts of our brain, and the idea that if you trust me, your trust in Shem is probably not purely logical, right? I can't put a spreadsheet in front of you and give you 12 data points for why you should trust me. Trust comes from somewhere else largely, and it is that more emotional part of our brain. And so music has a way of getting past the logical, analytical thinking side of our brain, if you want to call it that, and going straight to where some of the most impactful things happen as a human, which is that emotional part of our brain, how we connect with people, how we show up in the world, how we feel motivated, how we feel energized. I can listen to a logical podcast on why I should get out of bed in the morning. That might be good. Or I can listen to a 2-minute song and jump out of bed and be ready to go, right? And so again, I think that's one of those things in understanding of regulation and mindset, somewhere in there, that when we're working with team members as leaders, we are often coming in at the instructional level of telling them what to do, how to do it, addressing, again, more of the behaviors, as opposed to what are you doing to inspire? Like, what are you doing just to energize and motivate, to trust, to build trust and connection with them? Because if you have someone on your team who feels safe with you and they know they can rely on you and they feel like they are invested in, that team member is likely going to be a more productive and higher likelihood of achieving those outcomes you want to see than if you just try to target the outcomes you want to see.
Yeah, that's good. Are these people contacting you usually in distress?
Usually it is, yes. Well, let me say,
I should say, organizations, are they like in distress, or this is just part of their, hey, this would be a good investment?
It's a bit of both, So I would say usually if someone's reaching out, it's because of a pain point, right?
Yeah.
Like if everything's going well, I don't need your help, right? And one of the things I do like to remind is like, just because things are going well, like that's actually a great starting point to do some of this stuff, right? Before, that's a really good point. Like that is just one of the most probably overlooked things in this space, is that I don't have a percentage here, but I would estimate the majority of the time people are reaching out is because there's a pain point, conflict, drama. We've got all these people at each other's throats. It feels like high school. I hear that a lot. Like we've never really left high school behind. And then they're reaching out. We need help. We need support with this. And so we step into that. But yes, on the flip side, we do have some organizations that are actually, there's one I'm in the early stages of working with right now, and they're actually very healthy. Little stuff. We're human. There's always little stuff, but they're a very healthy organization, and we're working with what does it look like to build on that platform. Because if you're talking a team that is regulated, that trusts each other, they're connected, there's conflict, right? There's always stuff, but we struggle with each other as opposed to struggling against each other. You can build on that, and you can really sharpen skills then in a way that if they don't have those fundamental things, you got to spend more time on the front end helping build some of that before you really even get to the skills. Does that answer your question?
It does. And I'm kind of in my head thinking about the difference of you versus HR. Yeah. It's kind of where my head keeps going, that line, because you're not coming in and saying this person needs to be fired, right? You're coming in saying, like, here's the processes we can do for you guys to evolve as a team. Yep. And there happens to be some pain points right now for you guys where you're not able to like move forward together, right? That's the ultimate goal, is that they become, the synergy increases. And I think of like a sports analogy, right? Basketball, that's a common theme, right? There's a lot of drama, a lot of emotion. They're all still really good at what they do, but they're not in sync. They're not communicating well. They're frustrated, and you miss this pass, and I've been guilty of that. Like you could play a game with someone that's on your team and you can't stand playing with them. They're good, but you just can't stand them.
Yeah.
Because they can't handle feedback. They don't ever listen to me when I give them this correction. And then when they get mad at me, they always do it this way. And I can't stand that, right? Yeah. It's like the pissing match.
The pissing match. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
The frustration always comes back to communication, like at the core of it, probably. The exchange of information, how you exchange information, and then you go way deeper to, instead of just that behavioral issue, to like how do we build on a solid foundation to understand how to communicate?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's I could see that being just a massive value of like, hey, communication's key to good leadership and to coworkers getting along and learning how to assist each other.
Yeah, definitely. It is the you mentioned, communication there, which is just such a significantly broad category of what goes into that, right? And
that involves emails.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't it's grammatically how you type this email. I've been on the receiving end of that and the other side where
absolutely.
It's like, that email read this way. I'm like, we should probably stop sending emails then because it is kind of hard to interpret.
Yeah, and we give some, try to give some guidelines and tips around some of those things. You mentioned like termination conversations. No, we're certainly, like my work doesn't involve going in and saying, you need to fire this person.
Here's the weak link.
Yeah. That is not what I do. However, I have spent time one-on-one with multiple leadership roles where we were rehearsing disciplinary action conversations and even termination. And I was walking through, like, talk to me about why you're making this decision and what have you done up to this point. And so absolutely, that's a part of work, right? It is this, so you mentioned Next Element earlier. Next Element's an incredible consulting firm. They actually started in Newton. I think they're kind of spreading out now, but they do global work, just wonderful, wonderful work they do. And I am certified through them in a model called compassionate accountability. And the idea is that you don't have to choose compassion or accountability. And that really is, that probably, again, and the slideshow version summarizes 90% of the workplace issues that we run into. Is some are stronger on this side, some are stronger on this side, and there's debate and argument as to where we need to be. There's a way to show up and do both and be healthy, and that's not just how we interact with others. It's, again, critical to all this is how do I see myself? And so we look at, do I believe in my own value? Do I believe in my competency, my capability? Do I believe in my shared responsibility that I'm going to bring to the table here? And then do I believe those very same things about you and who you are and how you're showing up? So all that to say, there is a time to be accountable, and that's all the time, right? Humans actually, we thrive when there's both happening. When you are, again, going back to trust. Trust is really about, am I safe with you? Can I rely on you? Am I psychologically safe with you? Is there compassion here? Is there an empathetic understanding of what it means to be human? Am I safe to fail? Am I safe to be real? Am I safe to be me? And then, can I rely on you? How do we move things forward together? And that sets this foundation again for, we're going to struggle. Like, to be human is to struggle. To be in a community is to struggle, but we're going to struggle with each other instead of struggling against each other.
Yeah, I like
we
that.
have to intentionally choose that, though. Conflict, if we just let conflict do its thing, most of us default to drama, but it's important to remember that conflict in and of itself is very neutral. It is a neutral thing. Again, the analogy I think of is an outlet. You stick a microwave cord into that outlet, great, it's wonderful. You stick a fork in that outlet, not so much, right? And so conflict in the same way, it's energy. It's this immense potential, and it's what we do with it. And there's a way to struggle with, and there's a way to struggle against.
I feel like when people use those words, energy, it puts off these snake oil vibes. You know what I mean? Like,
just there's this. Be yourself, man.
Yeah, feel the energy. It's got to be. But it is important. But I do think there's like these certain personality types, and I was one of them for a long time, where it's just like, you know what I mean? Like your
buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly. But that analogy helps that.
Yeah. Hey, stop it. Okay.
Yeah. Stop being that. Okay. Here's what I want to do next. For the sake of time, let's just do like one thing. But I just sat down with you in a room. Yep. Okay. And you know enough backstory, right? So you can spearhead this however you want, but like, let's do a little piece. Let's do a little piece of what you do and do it to me.
Oh, like coaching, like a one-on-one coach. Okay,
coach
cool.
me.
Yeah,
I'm not. Where was your head, weirdo? God,
do what to you? Turn off the camera.
Turn off the camera.
I'm not falling for that again, Samuel. Great. Okay, so if I'm stepping in, and do I know you as a Samuel that I know you to be? You're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you got family, all of that.
Yeah. I would it can be as personal as you want it to be.
So thing with coaching is it's way more about the questions than it is the answers, right?
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely going to be, what do you got going on? If you reached out to me, you're wanting to know who I am, what I can do, how I can help you. I am immensely curious about what you got going on in your life, and just kind of talk to me for a little bit about, family, at home, at work.
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
Yeah, too many things. I spend most of my time at Killer Growth. We've got a remote team. Only 2 of us are together, Tyler and I, and then we have employees spread out all over. So we spend a lot of time on Slack, Zoom calls. Common theme for us, I think, in the startup mode, and let's just use Killer Growth. I think that would be a great example. Common theme for us is connecting and communicating when it's all virtual. I think is a piece we talk about regularly. That's been like, it's like tough, and it's like manageable, and we're trying to figure out what that looks like, but we've also not put a lot of effort into it. And so Norris, our COO, has brought that up multiple times of like, what could that look like, including Brickley. We haven't really put a lot of thought into that, but we're in growth mode again, and we're growing again. And that just resurfaced for me as well. Like, we are separated. So what does that look like where we can all still feel connected? Because it is just virtually, it's difficult to have the same type of interaction as it is for Norris and I in person.
Yeah.
And that's just by the nature of how our company works. It will always work that way.
Yeah.
It's just necessary for finding talent, proximity, right? You're limited, but once you find the right person, right, for the role, and they live somewhere else, it's totally a business. We do digital marketing services, digital growth strategies, a lot of development. And so we're building all the time together, like hand in hand, but we're somewhere else. And then less about systems of how to do that together, probably more about the community aspect of how to communicate, how we could get quicker, how these meetings could be more productive or more efficient when you're sitting there, like you see this person only on a digital call. And so you're kind of you still want to keep building rapport the whole time. Yeah. You want to make sure they're okay, but you don't have that passing time, right? Like Norris and I get water from the same Culligan machine, and we're in the same building, and I know. I avoid him at all costs. I avoid him at all costs.
He's gone.
But proximity, you have those little like down moments in an organization where you actually get to connect. But then when all you ever do is just work, talk. That's an interesting thing to think about at scale. If when I think about duplicating our company by X, or multiplying our company by X, I think about that too. On what's that going to look like? How do we keep this culture healthy, dynamic, where we're all working together versus like these pain points. Our meetings are only about things going wrong. Building things, and I want people to be excited to be here and feel part of something, and not just in their basement alone all day. And
absolutely. No, that's I'm curious. I've got a few questions. If this were real time, I know we had all the time in the world, I would just one at a time kind of walk through very slowly, but I'll let you kind of pick which direction you feel like would be maybe most beneficial for this conversation. The first question, where if this were real, I would say you got a lot going on. That's awesome. That's incredible. You're building some wonderful stuff. Could you talk to me a little bit more about who you are in that? And again, I'm curious. What
my role is.
What do you bring to the room? Not just your role. Your role's important, absolutely. But what do you? Who is Samuel? What do you bring to the room when you walk into it? What do people know they can get from you? talk to me about kind of who you are. So that would be a question if you want to go there. The other question is a lot of what you centered around there felt like this connection. Like how do we better connect? We got this stuff going on. So I would love to hear, like, for you, what does connection look like? How are you defining connection, and how are you thinking about, do you have a standard in your mind that exists for what connection is and what it is not? And so either one of those, which path would you like to to walk down?
Yeah, I could see a short version of one going longer into the one on your left side there.
Yes, but my right,
right to left. I'd say what it looks like. The complete honest answer is probably more fear than anything.
Okay,
we probably should figure this out because this seems like it's not thought through, not thoughtful. It's not a process being figured out. It's not which kind of goes back to the owning it thing, and who is that? Is that me? Is where my brain went when you did the left side of what do I bring to the table? Is this a legit concern? Do I have vision for where it should go?
Yeah.
As far as what I want it to look like, I genuinely care about creating opportunity and value for others.
Yep.
That's at our core for our clients. It's what makes sales hard when I don't think I can, right?
Yep.
It's hard to sell stuff when I do think I can, and it's a lot easier to sell our problem solving ability, right? So we identify problems, we fix them. But if I don't think we can do that, I struggle selling. But my primary skill that I bring to the table, I believe, is identifying opportunities and for my clients. And then the second part of it, that's the hardest part, is facilitating and building a team that can solve those problems for a client. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on two sides of it, and it's really hard to be on both sides.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult. And then I worry about that connection and that communication about, now I got to come over here because I'm thinking about the client side because I'm over here and I want this to just be so dang good.
Yeah.
And I want perfection in the sense of a client feels satisfied. We solved their problem. We checked off their boxes. And I want a team that aligns with that and is excited about that and enjoys that process too.
Okay. Yeah.
Versus I bring something to the table. So I like off the cuff, obviously, is always Norris's joke with me. Off the cuff is where I live.
Yeah.
And in identifying what is going wrong with someone or what they really want.
Yep.
Has always been my core of entrepreneurship. Just identifying, here's a problem, here's a solution, put it together, have the right people. And that goes back to I feel like it sounds like I view people as objects, but in a business opportunity, I view people as parts of an engine, right? And once you get that all humming, that engine's purring. I know in a leadership role, it doesn't mean if they're all in the perfect spot, it doesn't mean they like being there and that they're not exhausted or that it doesn't need lubed. And the gear's about to burn out, right? There's all that aspect that's always been really difficult for me. And I don't feel like I bring that to the table well unless I were to put all my attention there.
Yeah.
But I want my attention here on this side. Back to the core of who I am, what I bring to the table. It's definitely a combination of both, and that probably scares me because it doesn't feel like you can be both of those sides in the last 13 years. And I feel like that's an ultimate part of where I've struggled is how do you do both? How do you grow something, and how do you also grow the team and its ability to connect and the opportunity to be there for everybody?
Yeah.
So I'm worrying about the team. I'm worrying about getting new clients or taking care of our clients.
Yep.
So it's mostly worry and fear.
Yeah.
At my core, I worry and have fear and anxiety about a lot of things regularly, which drives me to just keep going probably. It's this achievement piece for me is that I always say the opportunity and value for others is my existence. And it sounds like I'm a saint or whatever, right? That line. And that's not what I mean. I mean, that's what gets me out of bed. If I have those two things in front of me, I want to keep pushing no matter what, Because if it starts that way, then my goal is that it finishes that way. Right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It doesn't become about me. But we did a personality thing, and I'll give the mic back to you.
Yeah,
because I'm going off the
No,
rails now.
that's great.
But we did this personality thing of our leadership team, which is 4 people.
Okay,
and it basically came back with like this is interesting, right? It was like there's a lot of ability, a lot of talent. That's probably all going a lot of different directions.
Yep.
And there probably needs to be some synergy and locking in of this group of 4 because it's that's the other thing that I have fear of right in front of one of them. But this is a very talented group I'm in now.
Yeah.
And it's always great news when you walk in and you're the dumbest person in the room, right?
That's
a good team.
Yeah.
That's a good
Love
team.
That. Yeah. That's what you want as a leader, right?
Yeah. Like I'm like walking in like, this is great. I do not want to squander this opportunity.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Real quick, what leadership tools or a personality assessment was that? Do you know what that was called?
No, it was taking, what was it, Tyler, Disc? Or what did we plug in? Oh, no, it was the ChatGPT. So we did an audit of each of ourselves because we've used ChatGPT so long.
Yes.
We said
Yes.
audit ourselves.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it literally said everything it knows about us.
Yep.
And then we fed all of that in and said, now do a breakdown of leadership and takeaways from this.
That's interesting.
That's how we did it. We didn't actually do a personality test.
That's great. There's I've talked to a couple of different people who have done that now. And very, very interesting with all that. I'm interested in, you mentioned it a couple of times, and just I don't know if you have awareness, but in the conversation, talk to me about what do you bring into the room. You never really finished that. Instead, it went pretty quickly to you would start to say, what I bring to the room is I'm really, right? Sometimes what I bring, I'm really, right? What is fear and anxiety costing you?
A lot. So self-confidence in that ability, because of this great team, I will say it's a reoccurring pattern. So I would say why I struggle saying what I bring to the room is what I need to stay focused on. That's the question, right?
That's the question.
And you're saying I keep diverting,
well,
right?
You keep going to so you've shared and it's makes sense. You've got a lot on your plate, entrepreneurial. You're trying to balance the customer and your team, and you're not. It sounds like you're trying to balance that. I want strong outputs and I want a connected team. And how do we do that well? And so you mentioned you got fear, you got anxiety a lot. And so I'm curious again, what is that costing you and how you're showing up at work, how you're showing up at home, and just how you're taking in the world? What's it costing you?
Yeah, I would say lost time on what's the fear. So fear versus danger line is where I go. Like the danger, danger is real, but fear's a choice. I would say it's costing me. Man, that's a good question. Dang it.
See, that's why I love being a coach, because I get to ask questions and just sit here. So,
I think it's costing me opportunity to connect.
Okay, opportunity to connect with your family, with your wife, with your team members, with your customers. All of the above.
I think all of it. Because when there's that reoccurring fear of not doing it well, that I've always struggled with, and this will probably surprise some people across the board, I think it causes this lost opportunity to connect across all 3 of those in ways that who I really am and what I bring to the table is already there, and how I can be with them, just being with them and being me. Instead of doing that, then I go to this place of like building, worrying, like, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? Versus that presence. I think it's presence is probably the big thing. Where I start spiraling instead of just being with them and identifying like how we can do this instead of running ahead of it. I'm struggling to answer the question.
No, that's you mentioned presence, and I'm curious there if what you're saying is to be fully present in the moment, engage with the person in front of you, as opposed to your mind being on 100 other things.
My mind will slip from that moment pretty quickly to like, oh, here's a client issue. Now I gotta And I'm already thinking about how I got to go back to the team, and then we got to figure this out. And then same thing, meeting with the team. And then I'm like, oh, this team member's obviously having a hard time with this, or this thing needs to be done.
Yep.
And instead of like connecting with that team member about the core of like what's really going on, and it's just more like, okay, what are we gonna do here? And then that bleeds into 100% family stuff of then like that moment happens, and it's kind of the same pattern, I would say, like where I find myself just constantly skipping the like just being there through it and identifying what's really going on to just trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
It's like I feel like that's it makes sense in my head in the moment. It's like a behavioral issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that would probably go back to those 5.
Sure. Yeah. Somewhere in there. No, that's so you talked about what it's costing you. I'm curious, is that what it's costing you, like when you're having a dialogue with someone and just like, I need to find an answer here, so let's see, this is what it costs? Or how often is that, what does the cost feel like to you? Describe it in a feeling.
Yeah. I think going back to
what do you feel?
What I feel is like a failure.
Okay.
I feel like a failure when something doesn't go well, and upon design, the goal is for things to go well, right? Like my version of success and an outcome is, instead of saying this is going to happen regularly, and I have gotten better at it on one section of this, which is the client facing side. Because like this whole B2B professional service, I'm 2.5 years into, I was always on the other side of it. So now I'm sitting down with leadership in the room. But yeah, that feeling now is turning into, it's exactly what you just said. I'm trying to figure out how to say it again. It's not confrontation against, it's the confrontation is together, or the hardship is, it's like learning how to make that happen together, where historically I would just kind of go out on my own and try and figure it out.
Yeah, sure.
And now I come back and I have a team of people that are way smarter than me, and I need to do that there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I shouldn't have just run, I should just stay and be like, we're here, we're together. Like, let's work through it. And there's like this anxiety, whatever ADD thing in me that's just kind of like, okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's move.
Yeah.
Like sitting still is not my strength.
Yeah.
I do not bring stillness to the table.
Yeah, sure.
I do not bring that to a room.
And so then going back to, what do you bring?
Yeah.
Strengths, skills. What is Samuel the best at when he's in the room?
It's a tough answer.
You just said some of it.
Yeah. Prior, I guess, to that. Strengths, I would say, are, I talked about the off the cuff. I think quickly identify and being able to process whatever's wrong with my brain. The good part of my brain is I can look at 6 things and it doesn't stress me out. I can look at 6 things and connect those pieces, and I enjoy that process. And it could be people, it could be a system process. I find that fascinating. And then it's how to get an idea. And I read this book, and I've read it like 3 times. Great book. It really helped me understand how my brain works. But every idea comes from a combination of existing ideas. Every idea that's ever created is just a combination. So combining concepts to, you could call it problem solving, solution, confrontation, whatever it is, it's just combining these concepts. I think I have an open mind. I talk really fast, so it feels like I want it to go one way. And I have to work on pulling back of, I'm still receiving all the information. And I want to output the best solution. And not worried about being right. I just want the best solution for the situation.
Love it.
And then, lastly, I would say I genuinely love helping people and see them succeed. And I always have, more than myself, and a lot of how I was raised. Like that's just at my core. And I tried to stop fighting that. Like that's where I exist. I enjoy seeing other people be successful. And I think that's where I can help, is take something complicated and make it simple. That's the line I've been trying to say.
Okay.
I think I'm good at taking complicated things and just making them simple.
Making it simple and the ability to explain, or making it simple and an action step to move it forward?
I would say more explain.
Okay.
I would say that's definitely not the action step forward. I would say like be more of a Norse gifting set or like I see it.
Yep.
It all makes sense now. This is where it needs to be or what it should be doing.
Yeah.
I see how this affects us here. I see how it affects the client. I see the outcome.
Yep.
And then I've always needed somebody who could figure out how to then execute that.
Yep.
Right. So I've always been surrounded by partners like Norris and Brickley and Phil that have been awesome at that. Right. Like half the time I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah. That's all. I think from the outside looking in, I mean, I'm cheating a little bit because I know you obviously beyond this conversation, but
that's okay. We call it our third session.
You bring some incredible strengths into any room you walk in, and you're naming some of that, and the clarity on you are adaptable, you are ready to pivot, to shift, you're ready to move, right? And you bring this energy of go, go, go. And that, I mean, it's part of the core of being around Samuel, right? And it's what we experience when we're around Samuel is someone who can move and move fast. And again, you're a filter. You're in a phenomenal, fast-paced filter, taking in information, synthesizing, and you get this thing, right? And you lock on and we move. And that's just such a strong, you also, some individuals I interact with like are really good at that. And what they forget, one of the things they actually filter out is values. You don't do that. You never have. That's not who you are. You talked about how you're raised. Yes. And it's part of the core of you. You have such I think that part of the wrestling match I'm hearing is this wrestling match between you can't just go, go, go because you want to be the person of value that you are, right? And you want to hold fast to taking people along with you. But when you're going too fast, let's be honest, you leave people behind, right? You have a tendency of you move, and now I'm way back. Where's Samuel? Where'd he go, right? And you can move so fast that sometimes people feel like I'm now left to fend for myself, and I need Samuel. I need Samuel, and so that happens, but again, you have such a strong awareness of that and you're trying to account for it. And so one of the things that we spend time on in our conversations is I hear you doing a really good job of accounting, and accounting just means there's multiple models, but think of it as corners. So there's these corners we slip into in distress. When I'm in distress, I have a proclivity to slip into this corner. For me, it's more of like a persecution type corner where you're an idiot, the world's stupid, the system's broken. And I can default my energy, my mindset, how I'm interacting comes from that corner. The goal is stay out of the corner and stay in this middle place of accounting, right? And I hear you doing a really good job of zooming out, right? And accounting for, you've learned a lot of lessons along the way.
Sure.
And you're processing and you're trying to stay in a place of accounting, knowing where you want to move forward, and then also knowing that value you don't want to leave people behind. You want to connect and you want incredible outputs. You've realized along the way, Samuel can't do this by himself. So you've got incredible people around you. And what's my position? What's my place in that? I don't have to be the top guy that just naturally you have been in so many circles because of how you move forward. And you're just wrestling with all of it. And wrestling is one of the best places to be because wrestling helps keep us out of our corners. This level of conversation, by the way, is probably not something we do until like maybe session 3 or 4, where I'm really giving a lot of my
13 years of knowing me.
Yes. But that's a little bit of, again, where I hear. And one more thought I had for you, thinking through the connection stuff with you and your team. This is an idea I've been exploring a little bit more. Again, with a partner of mine, Kyle Harvey. You know Kyle, right?
Yeah.
He and I are going to be, process elevation will likely be going by the wayside soon. We're going to come together and wired human is what we're calling it. And so it's a little bit of play on the AI age, the tech-driven age we live in, and it's also, again, our focus is human skills, developing human skills. So Kyle is the incredible educational, like he knows the research, he knows all this stuff very deeply. So we're working on a number of things together, and I was going somewhere with that, and now I've lost my train of thought. So we can remove.
Yeah, you're good. You were
remove that.
Yeah, you were going into one more thing.
I was,
but that's okay. That was all. It was very that's the value of it, and that's what I was hoping to see in that, is that you basically just created you created three concepts, or put words to things I was feeling.
Yeah.
In that moment. But the leaving behind, I never said that once.
Yeah.
I never said that once. I said everything around it, but I never said that.
Yeah. Never named it out loud.
I never named it out loud.
Yeah.
But there's that goes back to that. It's like, well, all this fear and anxiety sounds like you're wrestling, and then you're always worried of you're going to go. And 13 years of doing different versions of this. Right. A lot of that fear is then I'm sitting there going, that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want to screw up this opportunity and with this team. And I feel weight of responsibility for that, probably because of the wrestling, or for sure because of that wrestling of things that have happened in the past, which is also that's a whole nother probably session.
It is.
How do you define and then
it's another 10 sessions we both desperately need.
Right. That define a lot of that. But no, that's beautiful. Great. Yeah, go ahead.
That comes from, by the way, in PCM terminology, that comes from one of those 6 floors we talked about, and that's the distress pattern associated with that floor. You don't have to, the story in your head about that is a story, and that's all it is. You don't have to prescribe to that story. There's descriptions of what has happened, and then there's prescriptions, and our brain does not always do a very good job of deciphering between the two, right? This happened, this is my experience, therefore this is who I am moving forward. And that little thing right there is what describes so much of the scripts on repeat in our head. They say we have, there's different studies out there, that we have 6,200-ish thought episodes per day. And so, again, different studies on that, and the number really isn't as important, just the recognition that there's a lot of things happening up here, right? Also, we know from studies that a lot of those thought episodes are actually repetitive again and again. Yeah. And so then the question becomes, what are those stories? What are those scripts that we have prescribed to that are, in most cases, running on default without our awareness? Again, it is the software operating in the background that you don't know exists. You're not. And so calling it into focus and then challenging that story and saying, no, that happened past, period. That doesn't define me. Again, description versus prescription. Last thing, sorry, I remember now. As you were talking there, the last thing I wanted to share here, this is, again, something I've been building out and working on, homeostasis and allostasis. So homeostasis is this idea, probably learned in biology at some point, right? It's the body's attempt to regulate itself. So there's stability, and then something happens, you're unstable, and then homeostasis, get back to stable, right? So stable, unstable, back to stable. Allostasis, which is a concept I was recently introduced to, again, Kyle, who's doing all this incredible research. Allostasis is the idea of, it's similar, stable, unstable, but then it is new stability, a newly found. So it really is about the body's desire not just to get back to normal, but to adapt. Yeah. We are adaptive creatures. 99.9% of every creature on planet Earth is now extinct. We're still here because of our ability to adapt and to move forward. And so thinking about connection, right? That's a great thing to think about with these things that we're struggling with. Is this I had this idea of stability in my head. We're not there, and I'm trying to get back to that. Or is this, what does new stability look like, right? What is a new way of thinking about connection in a virtual age look like? What the heck does this look like 5 years from now with AI, right? Like with the tech-driven stuff we have around us. And so part of what it means to be human is we have this incredible ability not just to, I got to get back to the standard, right? There's a time and place for maintain the status quo and make sure you have good quality assurance. Yeah. And then leadership fundamentally is about, you got to blow that crap up and find something new. And you got to innovate. You got to build differently. And you mentioned that innovation is not just about bringing some brand new idea out of thin air.
Yeah.
It's you're taking that one guy and what was
Peanut
it?
butter and jelly, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Uncrustables, right? Just take the crust off.
Just take the crust
or my
off.
favorite example is the dude who took the sink and the urinal. He puts the urinal under the sink, and now you flush the urinal by washing your hands. And it's like, genius,
that's a great idea.
Genius. And of course, he's made loads of money off of selling these sink urinals. I don't know what you call them, but that's innovation. Again, I love that you hit on that idea, that concept, and that's part of we all possess that energy as humans. Some more than others are just ready to innovate and ready to adapt, but we all have the capability when getting our needs met to ride that elevator to that adaptation floor and be ready to find a new way to define what this means for us. And connection, in this day and age we live in, connection has to be in some ways redefined. It just, if you're striving for what used to be, you will find yourself in distress because it just doesn't exist anymore.
And Norse and I have talked about that, the life of working virtually with people all day long. You know, it's like, oh, this is kind of how it has to be. And it bothers Norris way more than it bothers me. And we talk about it regularly. And it's just like, how does that turn into... And one thing Brickley actually did that was kind of fun, and I don't know if Norris felt this way, and I want to reiterate, it's the best it's ever been organizationally for us, but it's that there's this evolution happening I'm not going to get into of what we do. And it's causing like a whole restructuring again, right? And so you're like, this is going to happen. It's going to happen a few times over. It's like, let's don't mess this up. But he set up public huddles, and he's just like, hey, I'm just going to go live sometimes in leadership while I'm working. You don't even have to talk. You can just jump in. Yeah. And it was just like a little piece of like a community that was kind of refreshing. I was like, oh, that was a good little, just little way to do it. But
yeah, love that.
Well, this is the longest episode we've ever done.
Okay, gonna have to cut out
Congrats.
some crap, huh?
No, we're not gonna cut anything out. It was great. This was fun. I was hoping it would go that deep and be that vulnerable just to show what you can do. And I'll end with this. Unless you have anything else you want to get out there.
No, that's great. Yeah.
I'll end with this. The first time I met you, which is kind of cool, we were at Practicum. I go over there and everybody's in the room and I kind of talking to everybody, but you just did it a little differently. Yeah. And you just kind of like, you kind of started coming into me, started asking me a lot of questions, and you were just very present. Yeah. And you were very curious. Yeah. And I'll never forget that moment. Like we just all of a sudden we're talking about everything pretty quickly. And you just hung out with me that whole first day and became very good friends very quickly. Yeah. But you just made this very assertive effort to understand me in a way that didn't feel like weird too. Like it wasn't like over the top. Yeah, I was into you. That was all the jokes. But like, you just came in with a position of genuine curiosity. And then when I started talking, you just, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's what you did here today. I think that's what people are going to see. And I appreciate that about you. I see you do that with people all the time, but you do make people feel seen. You make them feel heard. You always have. Yeah. And I just think it's so cool you're doing what you're doing now. Gonna be more perfect. Like I'm imagining you in Canada next week. I'm like, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Like whoever gets the privilege to be in that room that you walk into, like that's gonna be awesome. And keep doing what you're doing. So
love that. Thanks so much. That's wonderful. I guess the last thing I would say is curiosity. Curiosity has been the most powerful skill of my life and also the most disruptive skill of my life. And again, that would be probably another conversation. But as far as
that's a good way to say
stability, instability, and now rebuild, I mean, you want to know why that feels right to me is because it's my life, right? It is. And it's largely a lot of our lives coming out of how we grew up and where we came from, and I will never say it was all bad by any means. Wonderful, wonderful things. And curiosity is what led me into some of the most challenging, despairing moments of my life. Yeah. And curiosity is now how I am reshaping who I am and how I think about the world. And so it's incredible. And if you are someone who, we talk about curiosity all the time. It's one of the top things you hear about in leadership. You need to be more curious, and I love it, absolutely. And curiosity has the potential to both disrupt and rebuild your life in a new way.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would just say, hold on for the ride, right? Be ready. To be deeply curious is to be ready to confront that what you think you know in so many areas, it's you got to be ready to give that up and ready to explore things differently. And long term, I think that's healthy. And in the moment, it hurts. It hurts.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome, dude. Appreciate you being on.
Yes. Thank you. It's been good.